and what is it, New York? 7 rounds.
With the SAFE Act.
Yeah, and then it's a slippery slope because, well, we've just gone from, 30 to 10 to 7, and then what? To 1-round magazines, so they're essentially single-shot pistols. I mean, it's if we don't stop now, we're only it's only going to go that number. The magazine round capacity is only going to keep dropping. So, I'm usually not one to draw lines in the sand, but this is definitely one issue where there's a right way and there's a wrong way, and there has to be a line drawn in the sand.
There does. I'm absolutely with you, Chris. This is Tami Jackson. I will be back on the other side of the break with my guest, Chris Cheng.
405. Thank you for shopping Amazon.com. When you do, that makes you a sponsor of the 405 Media. Click on the Amazon banner on top of our homepage. Then shop. Simple. It costs you nothing. When you think Amazon, click one more time on the 405media.com, then on the Amazon banner. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Grid with Matt Hochman and Beckett Adams.
MSNBC's Chris Hayes was talking. I know he's the punchline all on his own.
Mark Hemingway, senior writer at the Weekly Standard.
I think the insurance system in the United States is it's a lot like Congress. If you ask people what they think of Congress, everybody hates Congress. Congress polls at a 9% approval rating, but if you ask someone what they think of their individual congressman, well, you're going to get a vastly different response.
Andrew Carell, senior editor at Mediaite, formerly a producer for John Stossel at Fox Business Network and ABC 2020.
I mean, abortion is debatable because you're talking about if you look at the pro-life, you believe that a fetus,
it's a human
life. Believe it's a life.
Yeah. And we're going to fix the problem between conservatives, Republicans, and libertarians. We're going to solve it tonight.
Off the Grid with Matt Hochman and Beckett Adams. Wednesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific, only on the 405media.com. You're on the 405. Gang of 405 here on the 405 Radio.
Good morning, John. Morning, Scott.
Scott, what's going on in your life?
Do you really want to know?
You were never a nobody. Who are you trying to kid?
Oh, shut up.
They put these people in charge of organizations that have never been in charge of anything else as far as I can tell, and they perform abysmally.
Do you think that after everything that's happened, there's any way in hell that a single-payer system would be implemented while Barack Obama is still in office?
I'm going to take my surliness and go find those individual people that were just on that tape there and hunt them down this weekend just to solve it for you guys, okay?
Dr. Gruber sounds like the epitome of an elitist who's tucked away in his tenured position at a university far, far, far away from real life of real people.
The original and classic Gang of 405, Saturdays 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific on the 405media.com. You're on the 405. The Talk Alternative is the 405media.com. We're about halfway and some change through the Tami Jackson Show. Programming reminder, right after this, the interview with Sabo, the Ted Cruz poster artist, and then the replay of the Tami Jackson Daytime Show from KYKN, Salem, Oregon. Chris Cheng is our guest. Once again, Tami Jackson.
Thanks, John. I am back with Top Shot Chris Cheng, and I'm taking your calls at 877-297-8022. Once again, that's 877-297-8022. Let me tell you, if you have a question about marksmanship and shooting, I've got the guy, Chris Cheng. He is here, and he's here to answer your questions. Continuing on a little bit, Chris, lest you feel too limited by singing, did we mention that Chris also sings? You're a baritone, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. I've been singing, since I was 13, so 21 years now. 21
years, and you're on a board for the symphony or the opera, and you work with the symphony, or you play bass and jazz and symphony, something like that.
Yeah, a combination of all those things, and the fine arts have always been something that I've really enjoyed. And in my book that's coming out in July, it's a book on marksmanship, but I actually talk a lot about my musician background and how, you know, as a musician, anyone who has studied an instrument knows what kind of focus, mental focus it takes to play an instrument well and to study the intricacies of music. And then there's also the hand-eye coordination piece.
Right.
Well, if you're a singer, there's not so much hand-eye coordination, but for instrumental study, building in that muscle memory, thousands and thousands of repetitions of literally doing the same motion over and over again to build in that muscle memory. All those skills that I built as a musician and as an athlete are the same principles and concepts that I apply to marksmanship. And so those were the two, that was the mentality that I took going into Top Shot that, I think really helped me adapt to new weapons platforms and the competition really quickly and ultimately helped me come out on top.
Right. Your book that you mentioned is Shoot to Win, Tips, Tactics, and Techniques to Help You Shoot Like a Pro. It's coming out July 1, but people can pre-order it. And I want to let you know that if you go to my show page where I have the show written up, or you go to the 405media.com and click through the Amazon banner, you can get the book for the same prices and everything, but the 405 gets a little help. But I've also got the link to Chris's book on the book title and on the book picture that go directly to his Amazon page, help the 405 out, and they would help Chris out, and you could get this book. Let me give you a description of the book as follows. A surprising journey from tech support to professional marksman in front of the cameras. Chris Cheng won the title of Top Shot, a $100,000 cash prize, and a professional marksman contract with the show sponsor, Bass Pro Shops. How did a tech support guy who didn't shoot a lot of guns beat out 17 other competitors, including seasoned military veterans, law enforcement officers, and pro marksmen in History Channel's Top Shot Season 4? Cheng covers his approach to staying calm under pressure, teamwork, sportsmanship, and leadership. These traits contributed to his coming out on top and staying above the fray. Shoot to Win with Top Shot champion Chris Cheng provides fun and interesting insight into the Top Shot experience. Additionally, Chris Cheng reveals very personal information about his life that never aired on the show. He discusses how it was a key part of his Top Shot experience, with a foreword written by Top Shot Season 3 champion Dustin Ellerman and an afterword written by the original Top Shot champion Ian Harrison. Shoot to Win is sure to please shooters of all stripes, but especially fans of History Channel's program Top Shot. Wow, it sounds very good, Chris. How long did it take to write the book?
It took about 4 months. Last winter, a year ago, I basically spent a good 4 months off and on in Lake Tahoe, which is a few hours from San Francisco, and yes. It's where we go for snowboarding and skiing.
Yeah, I've seen there.
I had one of those quintessential author in a snowy cabin experience, just writing, drinking wine and wine and whiskey and snowboarding and just sort of alternating between all those activities, and had a great time writing this book up in the mountains. And I'm really excited for it to come out. For anybody that has watched Top Shot, I had some contributions from Dustin Ellerman and Ian Harrison, and it was just really, really interesting to get their insight around how Top Shot has not only improved their personal lives, but the mark and legacy that the show has had on the larger firearms conversation going on, not just in America, but worldwide, since Top Shot does air globally. And it's done nothing but put firearms in a very positive light, that they are they can be used in a very safe, fun, and responsible manner. And at the end of the day, it's all about who is behind the trigger. If we have good guys behind the trigger, they're going to do good things with them. And obviously, if we have bad people behind the trigger, then we know what happens, in that situation.
And the interesting thing is that all pretty much of the gun legislation laws are to curtail crime, and it's the criminals who will ignore those laws. So what most of the registration, the legislation, all these different gun laws that they've got going down, the SAFE Act in New York and others, what they do is they affect law-abiding people that should have that Second Amendment, as opposed to the criminals that we want to stop. So, I'm with the people at the NRA when they say it takes a good guy with a gun to stop a bad guy with a gun. Chris Cheng, you are currently touring Bass Pro Shops across the country, interacting with customers and fellow shooters, and you're shooting in 3-gun competition. First of all, I want to say Bass Pro Shop is huge. That's an amazing sponsor. I've been to the Bass Pro Shop in Springfield, Missouri. I have step siblings there in the Springfield area, and we had a blast. When they said they were going to take us to a sporting goods shop as a fun field trip or something when I was down there a few years ago, I thought, how much fun can this possibly be? And then we got into the store, and it was kind of like a mini Disneyland for outdoorsmen. It was just absolutely incredible. And then, of course, I stayed at the Big Cedar Lodge once, and I was amazed by that. So what do you do when you're touring for Bass Pro?
So a variety of different things. Sometimes it's to give some talks to guests at the store. Other times it's exhibition shooting. So I'll sometimes take my compound bow, and we get a bunch of bales of hay and line up all sorts of exploding targets like the shaving cream and 2-liter bottles, and all engage with with the audience and ask for people to call shots. People can bring their own bows and they can shoot with me. And so that's a lot of fun. Other times, we have a bunch of grand openings happening in the next year and a half. And, I got to say, Bass Pro Shops has just been an amazing company to represent. And when the founder, Johnny Morris, started Bass Pro Shops in the early 70s, it was a very, very humble operation. He was making flies and selling them, I think it was just out of a gas station, like sort of the mini-mart part of a gas station. And people loved his flies so much that he started, to make more of them, and then expanded into rods and reels. And then, started, eventually opened up the first, kind of big box store. And now, it is just a tremendous brand. And what Bass Pro Shops comes down to is it's about sharing our passion and love for the outdoors.
Yes.
And firearms is obviously a big part of that.
Right.
Camping, fishing, hiking. I guess from my perspective, having worked at Google for 5 years, being in an office in this, this white-collar job, and it was obviously a lot of fun and great, but I was indoors, for 10, 12 hours a day. And now to have this stark contrast where my job is to enjoy the great outdoors and go out shoot on, dove hunts and turkey hunts and pig hunts, and I'm going fishing tomorrow morning. And in Knoxville, Tennessee, here for a conference, we're going to be fishing and shooting and having a great time. I'm just so blessed that Bass Pro Shops has been such a tremendous sponsor and very supportive of the things that I want to do.
Wow, I can't imagine, you're living the dream, Chris Cheng. You get to do what you love. My dad always said, find out what you love to do and figure out how to get paid for it. Well, you are absolutely doing what you love and figured out how you get to get paid for it. We need to take a quick break, one last break. This is Tami Jackson. I will be back to wrap up the hour with Leopold, Bass Pro, and Salient Arms sponsored Chris Cheng.
405. Thank you for shopping Amazon.com. When you do, that makes you a sponsor of the 405 Media. Click on the Amazon banner on top of our homepage. Then shop. Simple. It costs you nothing. When you think Amazon, click one more time on the 405media.com, then on the Amazon banner. Thank you.
We are a bold and active voice.